The Valley of the Dirt People. It's Tech Talk, Taco Tuesday with your hosts, Jimmy Lewis and Logan Tyler.
Is it better if I wear things like these?
Can you hear him now?
I could hear him a second
Well, we
ago.
are live, actually. I think we just went live, yeah.
Now we're live, Logan.
Bad producer.
Do the read right there. 4 strokes. Go.
For motocross riders driven to dominate, the Yamaha YZ line of 4-stroke bikes are built for victory. Visit YamahaMotorsports.com today to explore what's new and improved for 2022. The YZ450F and YZ250F bring the performance with powerful 4-stroke engines, reduced unsprung weight, and new suspension settings. For the look of a full factory ride, both the YZ450F and YZ250F come in exclusive Monster Energy Racing Edition graphic packages. And you can take precision tunability to the next level with Yamaha exclusive and industry-only the free Power Tuner app. Visit YamahaMotorsports.com today. Find your Yamaha YZ and enter Victory Zone.
You didn't get Victory Zone with that read, Logan.
No.
But everybody, welcome to Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. This is the show that's brought to you by Yamaha at this point. But Logan just did him an injustice. He hasn't been practicing.
Was not roosting.
This was my co-host. My name is Jimmy Lewis. I answer 96% of your motorcycle product and product-related questions without referring to a reference manual, and 22% of that is 100% correct. The rest of it, we're just jabbering. And luckily, we have Matt that knows how to turn the show on.
Just 2 buttons.
Yeah, it's 2 buttons, and then the show works. And we have a special guest. But first, I'd like to thank our other sponsors because it wouldn't be possible. And we get to open a package tonight, Logan.
Yep.
I might bring my cat on the show. We're going to do everything. Yeah. But we even have a special guest, and nobody knows who it is yet, right?
No one knows who it is yet. I can bring him on if you want.
He's a sponsor of the show too, because he sent me T-shirts and stickers. And evidently, that's all you have to do to sponsor somebody these days.
Yeah, I didn't get those though.
You could.
Okay, yeah, because these 2 buttons, they get a lot easier to press when I have merch.
So welcome to the show, BJ Smith.
All right, he's on.
Or Brett Smith.
Hey everyone. Hey Jimmy, Logan, Matt. Thanks for having me on.
We had to have a discussion. Like you were BJ back in the day when you were writing stuff for Dirt Rider. And when you were racing, were you racing as BJ back in the
when I was a kid? Yeah, my real name is Brett. My middle name is John. Last name is Smith. And so the legend goes. This is embarrassing. Thanks, Jimmy. Mom had a friend visit her in the hospital. This was in 1979, and she said, "What did you name the baby?" I was first born, and my mom says, Brett John Smith. She's like, "Oh. His initials are BJ, like that TV show, BJ and the Bear." I'm not sure if BJ was the monkey or the truck driver. It doesn't matter, but it was a show about a monkey and a truck driver, and it stuck. And it wasn't until I was long out of college that I finally said, you know what, I think I'm going to go by Brett. And that's how I introduced my wife. Now I have 2 different worlds, and it's confusing.
Okay.
But yeah, so I switched my byline to Brett because I was trying to write for publications outside of the motorcycle industry, and I wanted people to take me more seriously, and it just stuck. So okay. Is this a drinking show? Can I drink?
Oh yes, you can if you need to.
Okay.
You know, it's I sometimes I need to. Actually, there's a lot of sirens in the background around here. It sounds like something's probably blowing up around here. Is it? Hopefully it's not my house or part of my house that's on fire. We're spread out here in the desert. Valley of the Dirt People, we like to call it. So, anyways, I got to hang out with Brett at the Yamaha YZ125 intro, which we're going to get to, and we're going to talk about this. And Brett does We Went Fast. And if you want a good follow that has to do with motocross history, and I consider him one of the best historians and storytellers in our industry. And I think it's because you actually do your research. And I know this because when I read stuff that I was intimately involved in, and it's like, hey, this guy got the story right. It wasn't just made up. And you know, I've gotten calls from you in the past when you were doing stuff like the Danny Hamill story is a perfect example. But even when I start reading stories about, you know, Ricky Johnson or some of the other guys, I've heard them tell the story, and your rendition of it is correct. It's well told and correct. So I always appreciated that, and that's why I always like to have you write stuff for Dirt Rider back in the day.
Well, thanks, Jimmy. I'm glad that doesn't go unnoticed. Yeah, it's all in the details. I always hit my deadlines, as you know, but I wanted tons of lead time because I wanted that time for sources to come to me, sources that I might not have been thinking about. Because you're not going to get say you write a story about Johnny O'Mara, just pulling a name out of a hat, 1985 right. Supercross champion, or 1984 Supercross champion, sorry. You just interview him and maybe one other person, you're not going to get the full story. You need to go to people who have better memories. Johnny's memory is not all that good. You know, you need to talk to wives and girlfriends and, you know, people they may have dated back in the day. Like, I will dig up the oddest sources because you never know what you're going to get. And then, of course, you got to cross check because people's memories are fuzzy and people remember things differently. And it's just, I mean, to me, it's basic reporting. You know,
yeah.
But I like to give myself extra time. I'm not churning out a story on WeWentFast.com every 2 weeks.
Yeah, you're not doing cycle news.
No, I don't.
You get it,
exactly.
Spin it out.
I don't have like sponsored features that I have to pump out every single week. I would hate that. That I wouldn't thrive in that situation.
Yeah, and then you're also so you grew up racing.
Yep, I grew up in Michigan. I came from the era of the Valade brothers, Nick Way, Josh Woods was a little bit behind us. Guys like Ahmad Owens, Ryan Hartwig, who was a nephew of Mike Hartwig, the Michigan motocross racer. And so my era was mid to late 80s and all through the 90s.
Yeah, and then so when you were young, the guys from Michigan, who were the guys that were in the top of the game?
Oh, Nick Way. Jimmy Wilson, he raced Arena Cross Pro. Brock Sellards he didn't come up to see us. We went down there to get our buttons kicked by him. Oh, thanks for the logo. I love it. JD Collins, Carl Scott, they were down in Ohio. Charlie Dunaway. Who else went pro? Tommy Barron. I don't know if anyone remembers him. He went pro. I went pro for one day in 1997.
So we had Brett test a KTM 125 XC for us at a GNCC, and I don't know how I knew this. I knew you were kind of one of these. You're like what I call a 125 guy, and he says, "Well, that's only because I don't ride enough, and 125s don't kill me." So
that's also where I stopped as a kid, but now as a 40-something-year-old vet rider, and I really noticed this on last Wednesday when we were out at Glen Helen. I put in more laps on Wednesday than I have in the last probably 2 years combined. And I've actually gotten out on the motocross track a few times. I went to the grass race. I did a Yamaha ride day in Tomahawk in West Virginia. I did Jeff Stanton's tour in Michigan, which was different. That was adventure riding, but I put a lot of laps in and I wasn't like dying. I didn't have those noodle arms like Ron Lawson likes to talk about.
Yeah.
I wasn't like so tired I couldn't keep going. I think I had pushed just beyond the point where it's like time to get off. You get off the track, you get the bike on the stand and your hands you feel that like throbbing in your hands, that tingling in your forearms. But I wasn't like gasping for air on the track.
I get a throbbing in my hands when I can't get on the bike, when I have to wait to ride more. And hence, and this was, you know, what was really awesome is Brett offered us his bike. He goes, hey, because he saw Matt over here who's chomping at the bit. Matt's so fresh in this game. He's just excited to be at the intro and get to do this. And then Trevor and I go to a lot of them, and we both ride a lot, so it's like we kind of have to arm wrestle for who gets to spend the time on the bike. Our bike doesn't sit, but then Brett said, "Hey, you can ride ours." Like, really? It didn't take like a second to go hop on it, and you know I rode probably 4 different bikes at that intro. Your bike was the fast one.
I'm so sorry for everyone else that it was wasted on me.
there's always there's always a little bit of production tolerances, and some manufacturers are really picky about who they give which bike to. I mean, they look at the dyno charts and they've ridden them during break-in and stuff, but I don't think Yamaha cared that much. And I mentioned it to them, and I'm like, did that one do anything good on the dyno, or did it look good? And they're like, yeah, there was some variances here and there, but not enough to make a difference. But like Trevor rode your bike, and he goes, you got to ride that bike. And I'm like, oh, okay. He kind of put something in my head. I rode it, and I'm like, upper mid-range, right? And he goes, yeah. And like right away, your bike, it was almost like it was just jetted slightly different. They were all the same essentially when we started. But yeah, I just tell you, you had a very good example of that particular bike. And the Yamaha guys are like, they don't want people to know that there's production variances and stuff like this, but it's just the fact of it. I mean, when I used to race and I get 3 of the same model, there was always one that was a little bit better than the other, of the other, and from stock to stock, and then you go and modify stuff and everything changes. But yeah.
So like specifically, what can cause that? Is it cylinder? Is it cases? Is it one specific part?
Well, in my experience, when I used to race KTM 125s and stuff, the power valve on the 125, like how it opens and when it opens, was pretty critical. The deck height, making sure so the deck height can alter the compression just a little bit, and you're talking like thousandths of inches and things, and maybe just your piston tolerances were tighter, or the rings were looser. It's just there could be tons of factors, and it's after probably 5 hours, you probably wouldn't notice this anymore. Maybe you would or wouldn't, but there's just those things that KTM used to sell gaskets in like 10 different thicknesses so that you could set your cylinder exactly perfect. And we used to get factory motors shipped over that were built there, and once you rebuilt them, they never ran as good, because the guy that built them was the guy that designed the motor, and he knew exactly how to set the power valve height and everything like this. So I think it's just it's little things. But I mean, at that point, if you were racing the stock class at like Loretta's or Ponca City, did Loretta's ever have a stock class? I know Ponca City always did.
I mean, we couldn't change seat covers and stuff. I remember my dad was so paranoid. He was like, original graphics.
Yeah.
Don't change anything. Yeah, they were pretty strict about the stock stuff.
So if you had somebody that knew how to build a proper stock motor, that like they know how to do this. This is what they specialize in, and that's what yours was just a one that was good. And I mean, it was funny because I don't think it didn't feel any faster. It just pulled a little bit better in the kind of this upper mid range going into the top end, and not enough to, I bet you most people wouldn't notice it. Most riders wouldn't really notice this. But when you get to go back to back on a few different bikes, then you notice it's probably like a jetting change, kind of. That's how much better it was. And we tried changing our jetting, and I don't think it got better. I think stock was really good. So,
how many changes did you make to that bike, Jimmy? I'll tell you how many I made after you tell me how many you made.
I rode we made some suspension changes. We made probably 4 or 5 different level suspension changes, and I came away very quickly. I knew exactly, just because I'm heavier and stuff. We were 2 clicks front and rear, and a quarter turn of high speed compression was where we ended up on that. I tried riding one with a 52 rear sprocket, which requires them changing the chain, and I didn't like that either. I thought I would. I was kind of asking for it all day, and they're like, "Oh, it's kind of pain in the ass." And I'm like, "It's just a sprocket change." And I saw the wheel with the sprocket on. I'm like, "Yeah, can I try that?" And they're like, "You have to change the chain." And so I ended up riding another bike that had it done, and it didn't take but a lap to go, okay, now I have to shift more. And other than that, I think that was, and then we changed, and then we tried a couple, just one different jetting change where they went richer on the main jet and leaner, half clip leaner needle position. So those are the different things we tried, and Matt tried some different suspension settings. So this is just a variation of that, and that's kind of what we do. That's our thing.
What does it come stock, the rear sprocket?
49.
Oh, okay. So 50 gave you a little more bottom end, but you have to shift some more.
It really did. It really didn't. it made it so you had to shift more, but it didn't. I kind of was trying to go around some of the turns in third gear, and every once in a
So
while,
was I. I couldn't
I'd
do
have
it.
to, yeah, I'd have to use a little bit too much clutch and stuff, and I didn't want to go down in second gear and really rev the crap out of it. But I'm like, God, if I could just let completely go of the clutch and go around the turn in third gear, I'd be super, super happy. And so I figured, okay, change the sprocket would help that, but that one tooth was not enough. So
Yeah, like my third session now, I finally started paying attention to where I was in the gearbox. I'm like, okay, I'm in third gear on all these tighter, loamy corners at Glen Helen, and I'm just fanning the clutch, and I'm losing my confidence because I'm not, looking like sounding like Carson Brown, like just
well,
railing.
I
these
think
corners.
Carson, you're very light, but I think Carson's probably got you by 10 to 15 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, anybody has me by 10. Logan has me by 10 to 15 pounds. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to, just be on the gas all the way around the corners, but I couldn't. And I realized, oh, I'm in third gear. I'll drop down to second. I'll bring it out a little bit and just try to shift quickly. And once I figured that out, it was so much more enjoyable. Like my confidence went up. It was just more fun because as a rider, you want to hit those corners with momentum and,
Yeah, speed,
it's
carry your speed around it, and not
carry
be
your
all
speed and
choppy.
just feel like you accomplished something. Then I get out the track and I talk to Bradshaw and he's like, oh, dude, I'm having the same problem, except he was trying to go around the corners in fourth gear. I'm like, FML.
Yeah, but they were talking. Those are the faster corners. I know where they were talking about going around in fourth gear, and they were going around in fourth gear for the same reason that you were having a hard time going around third gear. I was going around the turns. They were going around in fourth gear, in third gear, because I was not going the same speed. And I think Damon is probably a little more probably not as big as me, but a little more my size and stuff. But how cool was that to watch, Villapoto and Damon Bradshaw? And I mean, you would for sure get a bigger kick out of that. I get a kick out of it because I just remember how gnarly those guys were when they race, and to see that it's funny because they can't turn it off.
Yeah, it's so I ran into Damon at the airport. Like I'm walking through the Atlanta airport. I'm like, that guy with the monster, that's Damon Bradshaw. And I walked up to him, and I know Damon. We wrote about him with a Dirt Rider. And I went up to him and started talking. I'm like, are you by any chance going out to the Yamaha event? He's like, yep. Going out there to ride the 125 and trying to slim down. It's been a long time. I mean, he's like, he hadn't been on a legit motocross track on a 125 since he was 17 years old. He did the arena cross thing, but he's like, yeah, this is going to be an experience that I'm going to have to, unearth some skills that I kind of forgot about a long time ago. And then, I mean, we're all contemporaries now. Like he's 49, I'm 42, but I was 9 and he was winning Supercross and motocross races. So I'm like, that guy is an absolute hero, right? So to be on the track with him, I pulled in front of him once just so I could say I got passed by Damon Bradshaw because there was no running with him.
Yeah, no, they were. I mean, him, like Villapoto, and then of course Carson Brown, who, believe it or not, Carson Brown was one of our original test riders at Dirt Bike Test. Before he kind of we'd give him kind of assignments and they just sort of weren't getting done. But then you realize what he was doing, just out riding all the time. And then you see he's done pretty good, successful with his racing, and I'm really excited to see what he does this year because I hear he's got some kind of big, interesting plans to do some racing on 125s, which
he's putting a lot of laps up in Washington. It's Washington where he lives, right?
Yeah.
Wherever he is, he's putting laps on that thing big time.
I hope he has like 4 or 5 of those things because it will not last. Bikes do not last underneath that kid. he just rides the wheels off of everything.
No, he's all on.
But anyways, tell us a little bit about some of the stuff you got going on at We Went Fast.
I was just working on my content calendar for 2022. I don't like to discuss things before they publish because I never know if it's going to go or not. Again,
when you're going to get it done.
Yeah, I worked on a Galen Mosier story like 3 years ago. Started it, put it down, picked it back up. There was just a few people that I couldn't get to speak with me. Galen was killed in 1980 in a bicycle accident training during the week. He was up in New York for the US, not the US, the Trans AMA, Trans USA series at Unadilla. He got killed while riding his bike, hit by an Apple truck. I wanted to write a story about him. There's just a couple people they don't want to talk about it. And so I've been kind of like working on them to get them to speak with me. And I just feel the story is incomplete without their input. Yep. So I just put them aside, and that happens once in a while. I mean, my active projects list is, dozens of stories deep, all of them in either just
when
one line idea form. Yeah, some have a couple of sources that I spoke with, some are just some research that I did, and some have months and months of research that is just sitting there idle. And
one of your day jobs is doing the research for like X Games and ESPN stuff, correct?
Yeah, we're getting ready to do that. X Games Aspen is going to happen again, January 20th to 23rd or something like that.
And you do all sports at those events?
Yeah, I'm the lead researcher, but like at cocktail parties, when people ask me, "Oh, X Games, what do you do with that?" I just tell the producers and the talent how to pronounce all the athletes' names.
Cocktail parties.
In essence, that's our job, to know everything about the people who are competing.
Yes. And feed that. So those broadcasters are just like talking heads. They just babble a little bit.
No, I mean, you got to be talented.
Say something bad about Cameron Steele.
Oh, Cameron Steele, that donkey.
Yeah, I used to jump BMX bikes with that guy.
I got a Cameron Steele story for you. If you go back to 2004 and look up the 2004 AMA Pro Motocross Series, Glen Helen, Cameron liked to skate in at the last possible second for all the shows.
Yeah,
he did this at the X Games constantly. Forgive me, Cameron. He would be sitting there. We'd be doing a show. He would have his suitcase right next to him while we're like on air for freestyle motocross or something. And as soon as the scores came out for the last rider and the medals were putting around Travis Pastrana's neck or Mike Metzger's neck or whatever, he was gone. He was headed to the airport. He would book the first possible flight he could get. But in 2004, it was Todd Harris and Cameron Steele. And this was before motocross was live. So those guys would fly to Atlanta, voice the shows that we had spent all week putting together, edit by edit, tape by tape. It was a horrendous process. I laugh about it now. Cameron didn't make it. There were some massive storms. I think he got grounded in Nashville, or he missed his connection in Nashville. And Todd is in Atlanta, and he's like, we got to do this, because we had to. This was like on a Thursday, and we had to get the shows to the airport to get Delta dashed up to Stamford, Connecticut, where ESPN's offices are, or wherever they are in Connecticut, so they could air like that weekend. They would get them uploaded, satellited out, whatever. Well, Cameron didn't make it, and Todd's like, we got to do it. We got to do it tonight. I'm here. The show's got to go, and he's like, Todd's like, you used to ride. You're the producer. You know all about these guys. Let him do it. And so I sat in the booth, and that was the year that Ricky went 24-0, and that was his last ride on the CRF150R.
Oh wow, yeah,
that was a lot of fun. And that was the race where I wrote about this in my article about the YZ125. That was the race where Stewart switched to the KX250F for the one and only time he ever raced that bike
at Glen Helen, right?
At Glen Helen, yep. Remember he went 22-1 that summer on a KX125, winning every moto by 8, 10, 12 seconds. Everyone else is on 254 strokes. He gets on that 250, wins the first moto by like 40 seconds and the second moto by 68 seconds. Just embarrassed everyone.
It was funny because I remember being at Glen Helen watching that, and he was the only guy that was literally like what I call short shifting the 250F. I mean, all of a sudden he had something that probably had a good 5 to 7 horsepower on his 125. He didn't need it. he was the only one that wasn't just sitting on the rev limiter and popping and you could just hear him using the torque of the motorcycle, and it was just it was kind of like, he's in a different level right now.
He had something internal that none of us had, not any other rider. It was just incredible to watch, to hear, to feel, to experience.
You know who Yamaha should have got James Stewart at that intro to ride around on the 125.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine?
Yeah, that would have been
I
cool.
mean, if we could get him to come to the end of his driveway, that would be an accomplishment.
Yeah, I know he's a little elusive. I don't really follow it that much, but I mean, I think everybody in the sport just appreciated what that guy brought to the table, and you know, you still. It's funny because I guess it's kind of maybe the old racers that are putting up their own, you know, their stuffs on the internet. So I see a lot of stuff that Ricky will post up and a few of the other guys, but I miss some of those James ones. I mean, I remember seeing them either in person, live, and or you know on the highlight reels, and you're like, whoa, did he just do that?
I get a lot of requests for James Stewart stories, and obviously you can't really get a hold of him. So I think when I do pursue a James Stewart story, it's gonna just end up being that Gay Talese Esquire story from the 60s that was called Frank Sinatra Has a Cold, where he was asked by Esquire or GQ to go write a profile on Frank Sinatra, and he couldn't get near the guy. He saw him like at a nightclub in Vegas. That's where the whole Frank Sinatra Has a Cold thing, because I think they kept blowing him off. Oh, Frank has a cold. Sorry, he can't talk to you.
Yeah.
And like he got close to him, and he wrote this amazing profile without ever talking to Frank Sinatra, which I think I could do the same thing. You know, there are enough people that were and still are in James's orbit that would share information, you know, to where a great profile or a great history story could be told. And that's what I pursue at We Went Fast. It's motocross history.
Yeah.
I do some current stuff, but I like the history, to tell the history of the sport.
Yeah. I always with James, whenever I was doing stuff, journalist stuff, when I was a dirt rider with him, he was always very easy to work with me for some reason. I don't know, because we didn't really ask that much of him, and it was usually we were doing more stuff with the bike and kind of, you know, it was more about the bike stuff. And it's like, hey James, can you pose with your bike or something like that? It was really simple, but you'd start talking to him and I don't know. I found him relatively easy to do stuff with, but then again, I don't think he was at that time. It seemed like he was winning and things were good. He wasn't struggling, and you see with these guys when they're used to winning all the time and all of a sudden they're not. They're just like they don't. That was my experience with talking to Damon Bradshaw when I had to talk to him. He was getting beat by Jeff Stanton and you know, Jeremy McGrath, and he was pissed. Horrible interview.
Yeah, nobody wants to talk when they're trying to figure their game out, you know?
Yeah. It's interesting to talk to them 10, 15 years later, and then they will tell you what was going on, or, you know, maybe what the real thing was, or maybe they don't know, you know? I honestly think that maybe James doesn't know what happened, like what really happened. It hasn't processed, and therefore maybe he doesn't, because that's the question everybody has, like, what happened? You know, you go from being the fastest guy to what? And if you don't know, and then you're going to get asked this question, it's like, quit asking me this question. So,
Logan, what happened?
Yeah, well, Logan, what happened to James
Let's
Stewart?
ask Logan.
I don't know.
Logan,
is he old enough to know who James Stewart was?
Not really.
Not really.
Oh, I'm out.
Hey, he will
That's
read.
how you know you're old. When
You're talking to a kid. It doesn't, like, James Stewart was a kid when I was talking to him, when I was at the magazine. He was your age, a little bit older, and interesting. Oh,
So,
boy.
Jimmy,
I'm
did you
hearing
get to
things
take-
on the delay. Logan just said he doesn't know James Stewart.
You do?
Well, I never really saw him live.
Okay. You've seen videos of him.
Yeah.
We still don't know what medium Logan communicates in. It's like these kids his age are keeping wherever they're at secret, because we found out about TikTok, and so now they're claiming it doesn't exist. And maybe there's a backside of Facebook or something that they're using. We don't know. So I don't know where he's getting his James Stewart info, but he will actually do some research. Actually, the book that's behind you right now, Grand Prix Motocross.
That's for sale at wewentfast.com/shop. Terry Pratt's book.
Yeah, we have one.
Yeah.
And Logan, like, you know, because he doesn't really do anything on the show. He reads it sometimes while he looks at the pictures while we're on the show.
I would look at the pictures because I had 30 seconds, so I'd look at the picture and like, oh, that's kind of cool. So look at what it read, like what words were behind it, and like what were sponsored, what was like the top sponsor then.
Oh, at the time?
Yeah,
Like
or
Greaves?
the banners and
Yeah, matchless. Oh,
Oh
like
yeah.
cigarette companies and
yeah.
yeah. To make you want to smoke.
Martini.
So, anyways, yeah. So if it, like I said, if you're, I mean, I get a kick out of reading your stuff, and like I said, I always want more. You know, you always want more, but then again, if with less quantity comes more quality, and we try to do it on the other side. We try to do a lot of No, we don't. We don't do much. It's really hard to explain what we do here. We do this show every week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure is there a couple of people that want to know their. You want to take a couple technical questions, BJ? I want to take you right outside of your wheelhouse.
Oh my god. That's
So
what I
no
wrote.
tech
So I
questions
wrote
in the
my
chat
story
yet.
for-
Actually, it's just a lot of people.
Yeah, where is your impression?
Where will it, of the YZ125?
Yeah,
It will be on Revzilla.com because I don't do anything with bikes on We Went Fast.
unless you get paid a lot
they're-
of money, obviously.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Revzilla.com. They have mainly a street ADV focused audience, but they like to take an occasional dirt story because they sell dirt parts and gear
Yeah.
and accessories. And I wrote more of an experience piece, more focused on is a 125 a good bike for you? Which I absolutely believe that a YZ 125, a KTM 125 gas, they're never too much, but always enough.
Oh yeah,
I think look at Damon. He's 6 foot, 190 pounds, and absolutely shredding. But
Yeah.
to ride a 125 though, you have to be willing to work a little more. It's not a passive experience, and that's what I wrote about in my article. This is, if you don't like shifting, then a 125 is not for you.
is it?
If you kind of want to check out mentally and just ride around and enjoy the track, then get a 4-stroke.
So so you say like it's work to go fast on a 125. That's what I always.
Yes.
They're pretty easy to ride around, but
Yeah.
And this is why I think they need to be kind of stepping stones for guys coming up, off of 85s. And if you want the trajectory to go racing, I think you need to spend a year on 125, because if you come off an 85 and go straight to a 250F,
That's 73 pounds in the YZ family.
well, good. See, these are the facts that you dump out. That's good. It's so easy to ride because all of a sudden you got all this power and this long power pull, and if you're going to ride a 125, you've got to ride a little bit like that 85 and make your shifts. And I think when you're on the 85, and Logan could probably attest to this, you don't even know what you're doing. You don't even think about this stuff
Yeah.
at that age. You're just doing whatever you do to go fast, and all of a sudden you get on a bigger bike with a little more weight, and now you have to actually kind of ride the thing. You can't manhandle it anymore, and then you have to figure out got to hold this throttle wide open. Or all these guys on these other bikes, 250Fs or 450s or whatever else on the track, will just yard you. So it's and that's all that's the only motocross bike I own. I own a YZ125, and if by choice, and that's what I like taking into the track. If it's just for me to go have fun, because I just want to go rail turns on a 125, that's my game.
And for under $7,000, I mean, you can upgrade your entire gear bag and still be in for less money than your friend who bought a 450.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah, I'm all in on 125s. I'm glad Yamaha's sticking to it. I'm glad they updated it. I mean, they probably could have kept selling the same one for a few more years and nobody would really complain. But our take on the story was, I think they did all of the stuff that you would want to do, but you can't do. Just some of the engine changes for durability, some of the engine changes for just that kind of the revised power. It did make a difference. It's a noticeable difference and an improvement, kind of where the direction where everything's going. They wanted a little bit better top end, a little bit better over rev, and they got it. So we were pretty happy.
I was going to ask you, you would know between the 21 and the 22, how big were those changes? And that's interesting. Yeah, all those modifications weren't something that you can do aftermarket. I mean, they were structural type stuff, right?
Yeah, inside the motor for sure. And I bet you that's going to allow the aftermarket to really get after that bike, because I I had some pretty modified YZ125 since 2005. Pro Circuit did a complete motor for us once, and it wasn't cheap, and it didn't last very long. I mean, I think it was like 5 or 7 hours on a piston was the max you could get, and it needed to be run on race gas, and the performance increase wasn't all that much. I mean, in grand scheme of things, for it's just a 125. I mean, but it was like, I bet you that this motor is going to allow them a little more leeway to do stuff just based on things I know about motor building.
So stock YZ125, how much maintenance are you putting into it stock per hour of riding?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing. Clean the air filter, do the transmission fluid every once in a while, so maybe after 4 or 5 rides, depending on how hard you are on the clutch. I'm pretty sure you could easily get 30 hours out of the piston, out of a top end on that thing. And, and the good thing about 125 is they actually kind of do start getting slow when the top end starts wearing out. They all of a sudden you just notice that they're not as robust, or at least that's the case with mine, with my 125. And mine's kind of getting tired, and I think I'm getting like about 25 hours out of the piston. And so we're looking at I think I'm on my fourth piston in it or something. So, I'm starting to go, should I put a rod in it? But nothing wrong with the rod. I just enjoyed it
because, again, I was able to stay out on the track and off the tailgate. I could just be out there riding and not be so exhausted and have such tired arms. And that's what happens if I ride a 250 or a 450. I'm 4 or 5 laps, and then I have to sit for like an hour to just get my arms to the blood to come out of my arms.
How bummed were you that you didn't get to go, Logan?
Pretty bummed.
I was going to bring that up.
How was school that day?
It was so much fun.
Yeah, good. Yeah, did you learn anything in school?
All that I could.
All that you could. Okay.
What grade are you in, Logan?
10th.
He's at that grade where his voice is changing, whatever grade that was.
Yeah.
But he just got his driver's license. No, wait. He's old enough to drive legally. Let me phrase this properly.
Yeah.
He's old enough to drive legally now, so he's driving, and so I'm never gonna. What's the over under on how long Logan sticks around for?
A couple more years, right?
Well, no, I mean just in general. Like when you know what happens when these kids around here like start driving, they just disappear. They don't show up. It happens.
Oh, yeah.
Or they want to get paid a lot of money.
Right.
So,
anyways. What a great experience, though. I mean, my goodness, I wish I had something like this when I was 16 years old. All I had were episodes of Moto World on VHS.
Oh man.
And I would try to act like I was Art Ekman, So, Logan, just be curious, ask lots of questions, and just put a little more energy into your
I got like 4. Yeah, well, he comes and goes. Sometimes he nails it, but I could tell the practicing wasn't good this time. But I've got a few tires. He can make up for it by changing a couple tires with mooses in the garage right now. So we'll get it handled. But Brett, thanks a bunch for coming on.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys.
I'm gonna go find your Revzilla story, and I'll put a link onto Dirt Bike Test. I'll put a link onto the bottom of ours because even when you help test in the KTM 125 XC, it was just a different perspective, and that's what it was because when I told Andy Jefferson at Husky that we were doing this, they're like, what's he gonna do? I'm like, do something different. I mean, we'll test the bikes and stuff like that, but there's kind of different ways to tell the same story about the same thing. I mean, there's plenty of us that just tell you how things work. I hope we do it a little bit better than most others, but some people don't care about that.
Exactly. I can't tell you what an 8mm longer connector rod feels like, but I can tell you whether or not this, you should buy a bike like this.
Was it fun?
From my experience, absolutely. I mean. But honestly, if you put anything in front of me, I'm going to ride it, but I know what's right for me, and I believe a 125 could be right for anyone if you just give it a chance.
Yeah, I think I don't know that it would be Well, it is my only motocross bike, but if you're, it's in the grand scheme of things, if you're a guy that like, you're bored with your 250F or your 450, maybe buy a 125 for a year, take a season on a, it is kind of a whole fresh new perspective. And, if you're not so worried about results or whatever, I guarantee you'll have a good time riding it. And that's, I think, you think about why you're really doing it, because you're trying to have fun. And I'm sold there.
Absolutely. Oh, Jimmy, I wanted to show you the newest design that we have at We Went Fast. This is the open faces, win races design.
Yeah.
Everyone, I asked people, I'm like, what do I go with? The Jaffa? Do I go to a Scott Venturi?
The Scott.
And
the Scott
thing. It was
thing.
such a personal decision. The mask, what you chose was very, very personal. You go back to photos from like 83, and you'll find riders running 6 different styles of mask. But then Johnny O just went like full face, like just stuck his nose and teeth out there. And so I thought, nope, the design has to be no mask.
What was
that
the
that was personal.
So you had the Venturi, the Scott Venturi. I remember that. That was kind of the end. That was the end of the face mask thing. But
Bailey, 83, 84.
What was the Jofa chin guard? What was that really gonna do? Was it like a chest protector for your chin?
I don't know, but you flip through this book here, you see some like Willie Bauer, just like basically wearing a little plastic on his chin.
Maybe it's like a roost deflector, because like it for your chin or something like that. Because I'm thinking that your chin isn't really that structurally sound when it hits the ground. So this is an interesting concept. I had the one style older than the Scott Venturi. I had a Scott Venturi, but I had the old one that was. I should send you some pictures, BJ. You'd laugh at some of the stuff. I have a picture hanging out. Me and my brother hanging out at Indian Dunes with Johnny O'Mara back in the day when he had that works Honda.
Why are you sitting on that? Share the love.
Okay, we'll get it out there. So, right. I'll check out your story. I looked. I went over to We Went Fast and I saw it, and I didn't see anything there. And I'm like, I saw some Insta posts, and then it said, okay, Revzilla, and I'm like, okay, I've got to find it there. So
I'll check to see if they've done it yet.
You don't know if it's been posted?
I looked at the preview today, but I think it might be going up tomorrow. I'll let you know.
Right. Cool. Well,
Thanks,
sounds
guys.
good. Thanks for joining. I know it's late back there. I hope you enjoyed your beer. We're going to start having tequila. Like Logan's going to pour it for me. And that's illegal, isn't it, to have him pour it?
Yes.
Not in Pahrump. So, okay. Take care. Have a good night. And we'll see you at the next 125 intro.
Absolutely. Take care.
Okay. See ya. That was Brett Smith from We Went Fast. Longtime friend of mine, teller of great stories. So check out his website, buy a t-shirt so he can keep writing those stories, and we'll go from there. Hey, we're going to go straight to the chat room.
Yep.
For the questions, because everybody is probably...
They're promptly waiting.
They're waiting for all of their questions to be answered.
They did wait because, they all saw Brett was here, and then they were just listening. A lot of good reviews. Reviews. He was a great interview.
That's good.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be here without Scott Sports, Climb, DDC. What's in that? What do you think's in that box, Logan?
Sprocket.
Trail Tech, Takamoto, Seat Concepts, and Bulletproof Design now on board with us at Tech Talk Taco Tuesday. We appreciate all those companies. We support those companies because we use their stuff, and they support us because they know we will say only good things about their stuff, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. First question, what does Mitch want to know, Logan?
Has Jimmy tried the Shercos? We have 250, 300, 21, 22. They are amazing with electric power valve, spark
Capacitor, yeah.
Yet the ball over is hard enduro.
No, yet to boil over in hard enduro.
Yeah.
Man, what did they do? Did they give you electric shock therapy to try to kill some brain cells between this week and last week, or what?
No, it's tilted.
It's the TV's tilted.
Yeah.
Okay, and your eyes can't see that far.
And also, that's
No.
You need glasses?
No.
Okay, just checking. I have not tried the Shercos. I've reached out to Sherco, and they're basically selling every bike they have. and there's really no need for them to do any media with them. So I have not ridden them. I don't know much about them other than I didn't know that they had spark capacitors. Didn't we talk about it as one of the worst inventions known to man? Anyways, or at least snake oil-ish. So.
Well, I thought we came up with spoke skins. Is that?
Oh, RJH says, what size were Jimmy's 125 when he was racing District 37? RJ, I will swear on the Bible, on my mom's grave, on whatever I need to, they were all 125s. And I got tore down a bunch of times by the other guys that were running the 140s and the 135s and the 150s and the whatever. And they would always try to tear me down. And I pissed me off when they teared my factory KTM motors apart because, like I told you earlier, once you took them apart, they never ran like they did. Even if you measure everything and spec everything, and they just wouldn't run exactly like they did before. Took the TV screen away?
Put it over here.
Oh, you've got it on your...
Yeah.
You've got it on your little device now? I can still read it over there, too. Yeah, so mine were all 125s. I never cheated. Actually, I never cheated, period. That's just not my my thing. So Logan's found the groove. Hence his reading. The groove or the grove?
little column A, little column B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
there is
Roger,
another question.
Oh,
there,
Roger
Logan.
Hurd. No wonder Roger Hurd asked that. Poor Roger. He's doing good, I think. Yeah, Roger asked that because I used to race against him all the time, and he was on the Kawasaki support team, and when I was a factory KTM guy, and my bikes were just plain faster. I had a 6th gear too, by the way, that at the time I was running an Enduro gearbox that had a really good 6-speed, and my bike would pull it, so that was always good. Okay. Next question.
Holy schmoly.
Holy schmoly? Yeah, that's a saying from back when, I was a kid.
To whomever will an EFI two-stroker always beat equals C.C. competition.
Can you translate that?
Always beat CC competition.
Will a 250?
Nope. Two-stroker always beat CC competition.
So always beat a 250F. Okay, so will a 252 stroke beat a 254 stroke? Is that the question that we're talking? This is what we're asking. And he's asking, are two strokes on an equal CC level better than 4 strokes? And the answer is it depends. As the displacement increases, the advantage starts decreasing. And I don't know the math behind this, but it seems like that power, basically they make power every stroke. They don't wait an extra stroke to make power. So net, they make more power because they're making it quicker. I think. I'm trying. They deliver more power. That's what I'm saying. So I'm trying to say. But they're firing more. So, every time, basically, you're getting the power from the explosion you have inside the cylinder. And so instead of getting it every other stroke, you're getting it every stroke. So they deliver it more. Okay. So, but there's a point where you can have a certain amount of power and that's enough. And then it comes into like, okay, well, when do you have to shift and how long is the power band and all this other stuff? So right now, currently, 125 two-strokes have to race against 254 strokes. And there's some racing where they allow 252 strokes to race against 254 strokes. And my understanding is that most of the quote factory kids that are doing this race the 254 stroke because the power spread is longer, and net it makes the bike easier to ride and faster. So they can go around the turns at a lower power level where they can, get the traction and stuff like that, and then it can keep accelerating and stuff. And where on a two-stroke, you'd have to shift a lot more, and it makes it a little bit more difficult to ride. And I don't think the power delivery is as, I would say, progressive or smooth. So on a per cc basis, the two-stroke's always going to make more power at the same cc level up until a certain point. And then they just don't work that well. The length of the power delivery isn't that long. I mean, it's a good question. I mean, you think about it, like they have to in the mini bike racing that Honda made the CRF125 the CRF150, and the 85s were still beating it essentially. So, there's a point where, you just can't replicate that power. Plus the bike was heavier and harder to jet and lots of other stuff. That would have been a different story if it would have been fuel injected, I think. So
They are.
yeah, they are.
All the factory conditions are.
The factory ones. Yeah, they were fuel injected way back in the day. They figured out a way
Fuel injected for a long time on
to do it for the race ones. That's not too thing. So you got other questions in there in the chat room?
Same guy. And how important is trail braking?
Trail baking on a two-stroke or a four-stroke?
I'm assuming two-stroke.
Two-stroke doesn't have much what we call trail braking or compression braking, because trail braking to me is when you're either using the brake or the compression of the motor to get the back end to step out of line. So trail braking as opposed to compression braking, which is just the pure deceleration of the motor. Trail braking is a technique and compression braking is a characteristic. Two-strokes have very little, and four-strokes typically have more. But you can now, in the old days, you just tuned it with the idle. You set your idle a little bit high if you didn't like four-stroke compression braking. And now you can also tune that with the fuel delivery and the ignition tuning. And this is one of the things that, high-level tuners that know how to work on this stuff can set the bike up the way that, a rider might like it. Everybody buys ECUs now to get more power. But one of the big advantages of having a tunable ECU is to be able to tune this in or out depending on what your characteristic you're looking for. So, okay.
Cameron Harris. I saw that Brad Freeman runs dual spark plugs in his factory beta two-stroke. What's the benefit there?
Having two spark plugs. I don't know. Oh, you have that answer? Yeah.
Yes, it's a crutch for a poorly designed combustion chamber.
Okay, Bob claims it's a crutch for a poorly designed combustion chamber. So he's...
So he built a head that takes two, I guess?
Well, I mean, I'm sure somebody, I would suspect that he's sponsored by somebody that's selling something that is that. And I can guarantee you that if they tune it right and they do different things, they can probably get more power out of it, or maybe it has a better characteristic or something like this. There's a lot of things you can do inside of a two-stroke combustion chamber, but it's all been done before, and it's maybe, who knows? I'd have to see the inside of it, and then I could kind of theorize on what they're trying to do. But maybe it's in case one spark plug fouls, he always has another one. It's ready to go. Okay. Chris Reel says four-strokes have more torque and can pull heavier flywheel, thus are often easier to maximize traction. Compression ratio also has a big influence on power delivery. This is all correct. So
It's almost like Chris knows what he's talking about.
it sounds like
Yeah.
he's unlike about 87% of the people on the internet.
So, I decided to do a little bit of research.
Okay.
And I watched what the other guys were already putting out about that 125.
Right.
And it's like it was like almost it was an awakening to me to realize how you've been sitting here and talking about how media guys these days aren't really media guys.
Well, they're media guys.
Well, I mean, not they're not.
They're
good,
not. They're not test. They're not test riders.
And I'm just watching. I'm like, wow, that you're actually right.
Well, there's. I mean, you got to ride the bike, and you got to see them ride the bike, and
Right.
some of them ride really fast.
Yeah.
You know, some of them are really good riders and stuff, but they can't describe what they're feeling, and they don't know. And it may be something that they haven't ridden a YZ125 for 12 years, or they don't care, or different things like this. But it's
Right.
it's
The motocross guys are pretty much four-stroke.
yeah, they've been riding 4-strokes for a while, and all of a sudden you get on this bike that doesn't have the same kind of power you used to. So there's a lot of then there's a lot of I don't know, and half these guys are walking around with like their ears are up like this, like what are they saying? What are they saying? And yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't look at anybody else's thing. I didn't have time.
Well, like there's like a 20-minute video out already from MXA.
What did they say about the sprocket?
That was like one of the first things that they brought up. But
Okay, so
over half the video was like
so
a
since
spec sheet.
before you were born, MXA has been putting 1 tooth bigger sprockets on every bike that ever came out, and Yamaha kind of did it for them already. I mean, they already said we changed the final drive to get the optimum gearing, and we went larger, and because it probably left to their own devices probably would have come with a 48, but it's like, okay, let's head this off at the pass. And that's whose bike I rode. I rode the MXA bike. Daryl Eklund was nice enough to let me take a lap on it.
Right.
And we talked about it afterwards, and I kind of agree with him with some of the things he was saying about it. And he's my size, if not a little bit bigger. And Mosman is a ridiculously fast rider and also a little bit lighter.
Right.
And so, between the two of those guys, I have no idea what they said. I would think that I would think that, and I was asking Daryl about it, and he goes, well, it's faster this way. I go, man, it felt slower to me because I had to make shifts. And then he kind of went back and said, well, a better rider would make those shifts more efficiently or quicker or whatever, and it makes the bike quicker. And I just kind of for me it kind of made it rev out a little bit quicker up top, and I like the pull, the drivability of the stock one as opposed to that kind of quicker revving in the top. And it didn't do anything for me going around the turns a gear higher. And that's what I was trying to improve. I had no problems with the top end pull, and I also tried the jetting that a lot of the other guys were going to. And to me it felt richer. No, I'm sorry. Wait, no, I get it wrong. It felt leaner. It felt leaner on top, which it shouldn't have, but that's just the way it acted. And it kind of same thing. It ran through the top end a little bit quicker, and didn't seem like it pulled as it wasn't as rideable. And that's the reason it came with the jetting the stock jetting that was in there, and not that jetting that actually does make. I was told that jetting makes more power on a dyno, but they left it with the stock setting because they felt it was more rideable, and I totally agree with that. Just to me, it was just everything about it was more rideable. The other thing I didn't mention is we fiddled around. Should have told Brett this too. We fiddled around with a bunch with our fuel screw, our air screw. It's air screw on a 2-stroke, and we were open our air screw almost up to 3 turns open, which is kind of at the limit, just to kind of get it to crispen up. In the morning it was okay, but like as soon as it warmed up, all of a sudden I lost a little bit of throttle response, and it really helped. I mean, for that same reason, going around the turns kind of a gear high, it just made it so I didn't have to cover the clutch as much. So, yes. Next.
Mitch OGB. Thoughts on Triumph's new dirt bike with Ricky?
We don't know anything about it.
Apparently, there's like some spy photos.
There's spy photos out?
Not of the bike, but just like the trucks being at various tracks here and there in California.
Well, if you had a picture of a truck,
yeah,
you should get a picture of a freaking bike.
Yeah.
Like, Like I'm gonna, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna stick a Triumph sticker on the side of my box fan. Drive around and see
There
what's
you go.
happening. Yeah. I until I see something, who knows? I know they have to be doing something if they're talking about bringing a bike out. They would have to be out there doing stuff. But if when we used to be at the magazines, if we knew somebody was testing something, and it's a small circle, you can figure it out. But if you really wanted to go get spy photos, you can get spy photos. It's not that hard.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, now you have drone. Excuse my French. I'm pissed off now. Like, you ever heard of a drone? There's these things they make now. They're like these little things. They're like cameras on a helicopter, and you can fly them with your phone
Right.
into wherever that stuff's going on. You should have a video of this right now.
A spy video.
Yeah.
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 I have seen some of the spy, KTM video pictures floating around.
The ones that get leaked by KTM to
Yes.
the media. Yeah, those ones.
Yes.
Right. So usually when photos like this come out, half the time they're leaked by, the manufacturer to the appropriate people that get a picture. You know what's funny is I'll bet you Yamaha was riding that YZ125 right in front of us because they said they've been developing it since 2017. I'll bet you I was at the track 2 or 3 times while they had that motor inside of, a bike with the old plastic on it,
Right.
essentially, or something that looked like the old one.
Really, they've been developing it since 2017.
Yeah, they said they had to pull engineers out of the woodwork.
Uh-huh.
The guys that knew how, the old two-stroke guys, they had to dig around to get some of those guys.
Right. So 2017, that's about, a year after KTM came out with their new two-strokes, like this generation two-strokes?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So,
Cool.
and it's just timing, and they needed to, it's good timing. That bike will last a few more years like this for sure. So, next question.
Nathan Cruz, best bike for 6 hours of Glen Helen.
The 6 hours of Glen Helen. This is only from experience, but I almost won the 6 hours of Glen Helen on a Husaberg 650. The old, it was 2007 or 8. I rode with this kid Ryan Orr, and we were leading it overall on a Husaberg 650, and we got a flat tire, and we did not have spare wheels. And then the sprocket was on the other side, and so it wasn't as easy as there weren't we were just magazine guys, just hustling around the track. But so since you can't ride a Husaberg 650, I would say, and Trevor will agree with me on this, YZ450FX. That would be the best one. I'm not just saying that because Yamaha sponsors the show. That'd be a great bike. Actually, the CRF450 RX would be pretty good. It kind of depends. It really, you know what, Nathan? It kind of depends on your your ability level and stuff. Because all of a sudden, bikes like the KTM EXC or the Honda CRF450X, the more, we'll call them trail bikes, can work really well for guys that aren't hammering. If you're just literally trying to survive, you want a bike that's better on the compliant, on the chop. And I'm kind of going with 450, and some riders ride maybe a KTM 350 XCF would be a great bike. There's so many good bikes. YZ125 would be really fun.
That's a long time for that engine to scream.
It's only 6 hours.
Oh, only 6
It's
hours.
good for another 24 after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next
30
one.
hours. Yeah.
I don't have any more.
Well, Victor he tried a motorcycle in Mexico with a double spark plug, and he was very impressed with the power delivery, hence the size of the engine. What size was the engine, Victor? I don't understand that.
You left out a crucial detail of the
Yeah,
story.
that's a crucial detail. I thought you were just dropping some super good knowledge.
Yeah.
It's probably maybe it was a what were the Amex? Was it an Amex?
AMEX.
Yeah. Gary Jones's motorcycle brand.
So there should be one more
Yeah.
on the list now, Logan, and then
Mitch
we'll go to
OGD.
commercial.
Wonder how the new KTM TBI throttle body injection is going to be. Back to mixing gas and hauling ass.
TBI, throttle body injection is what he's claiming. So there's been pictures of some of the KTM guys running essentially fuel injectors that are no longer located on the transfer ports, and I don't know. I have ridden a couple of different bikes that had the throttle fuel injectors relocated to the reed area through like a get kit with a whole different ECU and stuff, and I wasn't that impressed. Basically, it felt like you put a carburetor back on the bike. Now, that's not saying it didn't make more power, but I didn't feel that it was as rideable for off-road type stuff. So if KTM is playing around with this, and granted their current motocross bikes all still have carburetors on them, but my understanding is carburetors are getting harder to get. Hence the you notice the long name of the Yamaha carburetor, the Yamaha Kian carburetor?
Very long name, actually.
Yeah, because it's I think it's built someplace different. It's still a Kian carburetor, or it might be like a licensed Kian design that might be produced someplace else. But I'm pretty sure KTM is working on different ways of doing things, and that two-stroke fuel injection is still in its early stages. Just like on four-strokes, there was some teething pains for a few years to get it just right, and this is where they're at. So I don't know that they're gonna, go back to mixing gas with a fuel injector. I just don't see that, because I think there's a lot more potential to clog up a fuel injector when you're mixing things in your gas, oil, or anything else for that matter. So, yeah, don't know until I try it. So, Brian Horton says, if someone knows what they're doing on a dyno, those get kits can be killer. Yeah, but we don't ride dynos, Brian. You should know this. I've ridden lots of bikes that ripped on a dyno. I saw the charts and I rode them and said, this is stupid. Like we don't, generally it comes down to just they're not rideable or drivable, is what we call them. They make power when they're hooked up and they need to be under a load, but at mid throttle and half throttle and trailing throttle, and they surge in ways that, since they have really good traction on a dyno, you try to come out of a turn and it spins, and then it gets lean, and then it, then it bogs. All different kinds of stuff. The guys that just work exclusively on the dyno and they send you stuff that's built on a dyno, 80% of it is trash. That's in my experience. When dyno guys would send stuff to be tested, or I've tested stuff that was, quote, built on a dyno, it was usually worse than stock. So it might have made more power, but you could never use it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Cool. So from here, I think we're going to go to our commercial break, and then we'll come back with some Rooster Endo.
Oh, we still have that segment?
Yeah.
Hey, I thought we were going to do, I thought it was going to be Tech Talk Taco Tuesday with strippers.
Every
$20 is $20.
So, because I mean, we're really working on getting the ratings up here, and
Yeah.
and I thought maybe if it's Tech Talk Taco Tuesday with strippers and cats, that would be pretty good. I mean, we covered most of the bases.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Okay. So this is now gonna
So
officially it's gonna be Tech.
I'll tell you what. We
Oh,
can
you're
take an
gonna-
extended commercial break.
Okay.
You can work on bringing the strippers here.
You're the one that lives in Vegas now.
I know.
There's more strippers over there.
Yeah.
So okay. So we'll come back to you with Tech Talk Taco Tuesday and strippers.
Logan, cover your eyes.
Since 2009, Seat Concepts has been dedicated to making the best aftermarket seats. More comfort, more grip, more riding. For 10 years, we've continued to raise the bar. Innovation and American craftsmanship make Seat Concepts the world-leading manufacturer of power sports seats.
150, my 77.
And we're back. Mostly back.
Didn't make that bike work better. It made it sound better.
We were supposed to have this done
but
already.
it worked better.
Oh. Logan, remember, like, how many shows ago was it that we requested the improved rooster endo board?
A lot.
Yeah. And so what happened there? How's wood class going?
I'm lazy.
Really? Is that what it is? Dad just called you lazy.
We're almost up on Christmas break. I got
Right.
playing with wood.
Have you used like a saw or something like this yet?
Yes.
Right.
But every time I go into the class, I go, what is it called? So I don't know exactly what the thing to do is, but my dad said use this design, like the name of it, but I have no service in the class to call them to figure out what it is.
Wow, so this is a So you see, here's the problem with the kids today. If they don't have service, they're done. They're done. You can't think on your feet. So, did you see how I made this? I went and got a piece of wood, and I cut it, and that was it. It was done. I wrote roost and I wrote endo on it, and I was thinking, how hard could it be to improve on this? Because now we're holding it up with bricks, and you know what I think about bricks? They should be used as motorcycle stands.
Yeah.
Right. Not to hold up the rooster endo board. So, you could actually do something just like this. Maybe you could go down. I'll give you a budget for this too. You go down to Home Depot and buy, a nice little piece of wood, or you can go over my junkyard over there and find a piece of wood. I actually have a cart in the barn with a lot of pieces of wood. And you could actually take another piece of wood and you could set it. Actually, I'm going to demonstrate something. What do we got in the box, Logan? What's in the box? This is a segment that we used to do back when we thought opening packages on this show would get us a big rating. But we're waiting for the strippers right now, by the way. So, yeah, so this is DDC. These are our DDC sprockets. These are our drink holders, so no longer do I have to put my my beer on the table. Yeah, I don't want to do this, and I've got my shot glass on one of these things. You keep digging through there.
Yeah,
Check these beauties out. These are hard to come by because of the shortages of everything. But I got the one that I really needed was for my 1190, 1090.
What you thought, like NXA taught you?
Actually, 2.
You
Because
did what they did, but more.
one better. Yeah, I did 2. I went up 2 teeth. That's one better. Yeah. And look at that stuff.
You're
But
learning.
dig in there. I got something in there that's. This is what we're gonna call a teachable moment, Logan. You give me that. Give me those things. Keep.
Oh,
No,
so
right
those,
here.
Yeah.
Right here. Look, Logan. This.
That's sick. I want that.
Okay.
I want that.
So this is what we're talking about, and I have to describe this for you. So this is 2 pieces of plastic
Yep.
that have a nice thing. Why don't you hold on to that, Logan? It's 2 pieces of plastic that have a notch in them, and if you put the notches together, and you can just set it down in front of the thing. It's a sponsorship item. Just set it down out in front of the rooster endo board.
Okay. So my fear. The little piece is half as long as the other thing.
Right, but set it down out there. Give it a test shot. So you slide these
No,
2 things
yeah.
together.
Yes,
And
but
it-
I'm afraid that when we do it like that, the board will be over there.
Oh no.
It'll.
could be very
It can be exactly right here.
Well, how are we supposed to put the pins in?
The pins.
Oh, you're breaking the rooster endo board, Logan.
I'll just reach over like I always do and put the pin in. But I was going to say you could go down to the home improvement store that we have, and you could get a nice layer of cork. You could just like glue a little bit of cork on the front of that thing, maybe just a strip of cork, or we could even get high tech and we could go to magnets. You know those things that I have on my wall where you stick the screwdrivers and stuff on? You could
Yeah.
bolt a couple of those on there, and then we could just use magnets and stick them on there. Maybe even Velcro. Like you could, well, you don't do any show prep.
Well,
but
what about invisible tape?
invisible tape would be awesome. Double-sided invisible tape. You just have these little things. We just stick them on there. But all you need is something like that on
Yeah.
on like a larger scale. But you just put 2 of those things, one on each side, and you just slide them right in here, like whoosh, right in the bottom. So what this thing has done is it's just taken 2 pieces, cut them in half, they index together, kind of like teeth of a sprocket, essentially. You know, like that. They slide together and stick there, and it's a business card holder is what that is.
Oh,
You don't know what a business card is?
a little.
I need to make
A little
some
bit.
of those.
Your dad has them.
Yeah.
Your dad probably has business cards. He gives them to old dudes that when they want to figure out how to get a hold of the other old dude, they do a business card. It's kind of unique. They're gonna be collector's items, so you should start making your own business cards so you have them. So this segment is brought to you by Seat Concepts. I rode my KTM 1090 all weekend with a Seat Concept seat on it, a tall seat on my KTM 1090, and really like that big tall seat.
Can't see that.
Because you can't see that.
No.
It's off the screen. Oh, it's behind the other thing. Don't worry about it. I'm just trying to keep my attention span up here before I just unload on you for not this. This is making me almost as upset as I was about like the not getting spy photos. I think that the next show, if this isn't here, you got this whole Thanksgiving holiday to get this situated.
Okay.
You did good with the now I'm thinking that maybe your grandpa made all those balance boards for us, and you just sat around and watched videos on your phone while that happened. It might have happened, right? Could have happened. Okay, on with the show. Let's get to Roosterendo. This is the segment where you send us pictures of your bike.
Oh.
Are we going to try to do RJ's video submission?
We'll do it towards the end in case it goes wrong.
Okay.
So we'll make it the last bike.
We're going to try to start doing things right on this show?
Yeah. We're always striving to be better.
Okay,
It
improving.
just so happens we don't have to make that much strives.
Hey, if you wonder how you can comment or complain about this show, this is the best way. Go to the Facebook page or comment on the YouTube video. We go and harvest the answers or the questions out of there, and then I try to develop the answers for those. So that's a good place. You can join us live every Tuesday night here, 7 p.m. West Coast time, as it were. If you want to be a guest on the show, send us an email, and we'll take almost anybody.
Almost anybody who
wants
sends us either
wants
good
to
tequila
complain.
or has good stories.
Right, good stories or good tequila. Actually, someone wanted to send us tequila. I forget who that was. But and if you want to submit a bike for Roosterendo, I'm not sure why you would, because you just never know what kind of mood I'm in. And Logan's got me kind of pissed off, so it could be a rough night. And the end, I can't even reach the roost side, so guess where these bikes are gonna end?
Yeah, I know the endo side is
it's
pretty skewed to the endo right now.
This is how it works. Okay, go ahead. This is the bike I'm looking at?
Yeah. Rich St. Jean, 2020
Rich St. Jean.
EXC 500F, 6 days. IMC 4.5 gallons tank.
IMC?
Yep.
That's what you
it
wrote.
says, but I'm sure it's an IMS.
I think it's IMS, but that's good.
A Cherubi's black plastics, EE seat, radiator guards, HDB hand guards,
Highway dirt bikes.
the molecule guard.
The
Fa-
molecule guard. I wonder if he's using spell check.
I don't think so.
Because he got INC for IMS.
Mm-hmm.
The molecule guard. Do you know what a molecule guard is?
No.
Oh, maybe it keeps the molecules from going into the fuel filter.
Yeah.
The bad molecules only.
I was gonna say, I hope it doesn't keep all molecules out.
Well, it only lets the good molecules through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Only fuel molecules. The other
we go.
molecules pulls them out. Yeah, it's a guard though.
Fastway in cap, get ECU.
Yeah, so what's his name?
Rich St. Jean.
Rich. So are you hoarding all of that 6 days plastic to throw back on the bike when you go to sell it? And and then make it look like a new 6 days, and you put all this, just we'll call it burner plastic on the side. It doesn't look like a 6 days. It doesn't look like a 6 days to me.
No,
but
no.
you've got that thing so incognito that you can't tell. I think you need to spray paint 6 days on the side of it. But
I would like to note he also tried to submit the bike with a more scenic photo than the one you're looking at. If you look on my computer screen, he tried to make it a little bit more artsy, light it up with the creek. And
that's a pretty area.
Yeah,
I'd hang a right and go up the creek. that's where I go. But
there's a log you can go.
And
over.
he's got a big
tank.
Big tank on that thing. So he's doing some long range riding. I actually like this bike. I'd probably be that guy that would take the plastic off and save it.
You have boxes of plastics, so we know you're this guy.
Well, no, that's all actually dented and scratched already. Yeah, but
so you can Jimmy rig it.
I just save it in case I need it. But I did get some new radiator shrouds for the Husaberg 570 the other day.
Oh,
just ring the bell. Yeah, ring the bell.
The bell duty is.
I'm giving this guy a roost. You got to pin it, Logan.
Where's the pins?
Where's the pins? I don't know.
Should
I'm
be
not
in
in
the
charge of
Tacosaurus.
this. This is one of your jobs before the show. So we'll just slide it in up here then. It'll just hang high for a little while. Okay. Oh, I'm liking the Achirby's headlight.
Zachary Costilla, 2021 KTM 300 XC TPI.
Does it stall when you're going downhills?
I don't think he heard that.
Okay. Why? Because he's not. You don't. How do you know he isn't in the chat room? Zachary.
I thought that was a stab at my dad.
Well, no, it's a stab at everybody that's claiming that these bikes stall on downhills. Because I finally I went and rode your dad's bike, and I did a lot of trying to simulate the downhill thing.
You were right. It's the clutch.
It's the clutch. It's
I'm 80% there. I need to find the proper.
It's
downhill.
bad. It's bad.
But I'm 80% there.
It's bad clutch control is what it was.
Pilot error.
It's pilot error, bad clutch control. It's not a 4-stroke. It has it's a lighter, it's a lighter, doesn't have a lot of,
It's not rolling.
run on.
It's not rolled out yet.
Yeah, I'm no, it's erased in mine. I mean, I did everything I could to make some sort of issue arise from downhillness. I bounced it. I did all these weird things that would cause a stalling on a downhill that would be, and it didn't stall any more on downhill than it did on level or uphill. In other words, I did the same thing. The way I could make it stall was the clutch.
But I got some few tests I got to do.
Okay, so you got to run some more tests.
But I'm 80% there.
80% there. Okay, so Zachary, let me know if your bike stalls, and then we'll go from there. Maybe I'll give you a discount to my riding school.
Graphics by Moto Cal, a Cherubies VSL headlight with Cyclops wire harness, P-Tech skid plate and plate guard.
I ran one of those headlights at King of the Motos because I didn't want to smash George's really good Baja Designs one because that's like a lot of money. Oh wait, yeah, my headlight's up there. It's on the wall. Yeah, and I was really surprised at the light that this thing puts out. It's a good budget light upgrade. Definitely an upgrade from stock. So yeah, Cherubies makes good stuff.
Bulletproof linkage guard, FMF gnarly pipe, FMF turbine 2.1 silencer, fork shrink fork guards, tusk rear rotor guard, 7602 racing front rotor guard, 7602
What is it with the front rotor guards, guys?
radiator
okay.
guard,
I'm not a
homemade
hater.
radiator fan set for 185 start and 165 stop.
So homemade. So he got a computer cooling fan.
Yeah.
And figured out how to put it on there. I want to know how much time that took, like where he sourced the information, like to do all this.
Yeah.
And if it wouldn't have been cheaper just to buy a Trail Tech one. But now I have two questions for him.
And also he messed it up.
And he messed it up.
At either with typing or because it starts at 185 and stops at 165.
Right. So he's saying it goes on at 185
Oh, okay.
It turns
yeah.
on when it gets 185, which
And
is
then-
a little cool. But you know, either way, I would start it at like at the earliest at like 190, 195. But I would actually kind of start it at 200, and then you can shut it off whenever you want to. But I would shut it off before 165, just because it doesn't need to. I mean, it depends on what you're doing with the bike. If you're doing extreme enduro, that thing's going to stay on the whole time. You're never going to get it down to 165. And judging by his pipe guard, he does extreme enduro. So he does things that smash things. It looks like he has a nice dent above the top of the pipe guard on this
Yeah.
bike. I do kind of like the graphics. He's a Ken Roxon fan, I guess. 94.
I like the graphics. Handguards are pointed to
Yeah.
not too far down.
Yeah, it's an okay chariot. I'm liking this. What else? There's more.
Tugger rear grabber handle.
Those are good.
E3 carbon TBS guard. RP Moto watch mount on handlebars.
That's a complete list. If you're telling us the watch mount you have on your handlebars, I think we've got the full. You notice he didn't do anything inside the motor. He hasn't relocated his TPI things. He didn't have different reeds or a special power valve adjuster screw or anything. That's a way to make a good bike. I really wasn't expecting to do more than one up at the Roost side tonight, but
There we go.
there we go. You quitting, Logan?
No, I'm getting tape.
You're getting tape.
Okay.
Well, should we just take a commercial break, or am I supposed to just guess what's on this bike?
Well, no. While he's doing that one, I'll pull up the video submission.
Okay,
So-
we're going to take a shot at this.
Yep, we're gonna see. So it'll work for them, but it's more of a question if it's gonna work for you to hear it.
All right, this is RJ. Last week's show motivated me to do my video submission for Enduro Roost. So what we have here is a 2017 Beta 500 RRS. That's the street edition. The bike is set up pretty much the way I did when I got it new in 2017. I ordered it online through their website, which is called BYOB. When you do that, you get your name riveted on there, which is kind of cool. All right, so we got double take mirrors, Enduro Engineering handguards, upgraded headlight, front rotor guard, radiator guards. I upgraded the wheels and hubs because I wanted a push drive hub in the rear to help with the longevity of the motor. Curious on your guys' theory of that. Fastway adventure pegs. We like to do BDRs out west, although here in Michigan we do a lot of tight technical stuff. They perform well in that. Of course, I had to go with the seat concepts. That's the original seat. The thing is still, other than a little dirty, is in great condition. Threw on a rack system so I could run the Moto soft bags, FMF pipe system, which is coming off because I'm going to move back to the stock one for a little quieter. Enlarge recluse clutch cover to just throw a little more oil in there. Hopefully that helps with longevity anyway. Enlarged rear brake lever, and probably one of my favorite things is the hide skid plate. It's plastic, it's light, it tucks up real nice out of the way, and it's quiet when you're hitting rocks. So yeah, the bike is, again, it's set up the way it was originally, and it's held up great. Another shout out, my 390 that I'm doing a build on to Taco Moto Co. These reflex handguards seem to be really cool. There's a cable in here that help these to flex. This bike is tore apart because I'm throwing Trail Tech Pro, Voyager Pros on these bikes to do the buddy system. And of course, had to go with the Climb Adventure helmet. That's been great for the last 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
He started checking off all the boxes there,
Yeah.
didn't
yeah.
he, with the sponsors? So good on you, RJ. I got
of the show,
confused. I got
RJ.
confused when we started switching bikes. But here's the interesting thing. So if you're going to buy like any bike, and then you're going to put a lot of different parts and things on it, and you end up with a bunch of stock takeoffs, you can do that build your own beta thing, and they will do a lot of that stuff for you. So that's a good program to look into if you're thinking about modifying your motorcycle. So this is the picture of it I have right here.
Yeah.
Yep. So you gotta rate it.
Why are there blocks of wood underneath your kickstand? I think you should have upgraded the kickstand. And then he's got one of those disc rotor guards on the front again.
Yep. Yep.
So this is and he had the roto pack on the back, and I don't know if that he didn't say whether he had a larger gas tank or not, did he? I don't remember.
I don't remember
recall
saying that either.
the gas tank thing, but that's a nice bike, but I'm worried about the kickstand. It's bothering me because he's got a nice floor, a nice garage, and the wood underneath the kickstand is just driving me nuts.
He's in the chat and he said 3.5 gallon tank.
3.5 gallon tank. Okay. Why did he buy a black tank? Yeah, you said it out loud. I can hear that over there. Boy, I'm worried. I'm just,
You're stumped on this one.
It's confusing me.
Yeah.
I'm just like looking at all the other bikes in there. There's a Honda 450
Yeah.
on there, some sort of a street bike in the corner, and then all of a sudden he started saying 390, and then I got distracted. I don't know where he's at with this, so I don't know where I'm at with this. So it's gonna go.
No, we should put it on the endo side, and he's gonna have to come down to Pahrump to put it up on the roof side.
Oh, to move it?
Yeah. He can move it when he comes down
I'll
here.
angle it. I'll angle it down on the.
Yep.
On the endo.
There we go.
On the endo side, because that front disc guard is just so heavy on my.
Yeah, there we go.
I am blown away by how many guys
that we didn't get those the first time.
Are running those things.
Yeah, at first when we were doing this, we did not get those, and now we're getting them almost every day, every show.
Does
I think Bulletproof Designs
Bulletproof make those?
I think they do. Let me check, or maybe my assistant producer George can look that up for me.
Right. George needs to get those on his bike too. He needs a front disc guard, especially since he left the 300 here. Did you notice that?
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Oh, George, I'm gonna have to train it how to go over over logs.
Over logs, yeah.
which unironically, the 230 is my favorite bike to do that with.
Because it's not light. It has good torquey power. You can put your foot on the ground when stuff goes wrong.
Yeah.
So this is a CRF230. Yeah.
This thing is a log killer.
Log.
It's gonna replace lumberjacks one day.
Okay. What's our next?
Cody Hines, Moto-Minded XL Pro LED kit.
What kind of bike are we talking about? It's a mystery.
Husqvarna.
I know it's a Husqvarna. The graphics
350 or 500, whatever.
350 or 500, whatever. Okay, that's great. We like to not know what the bike is.
Vortex ECU, Recluse Slave Cylinder, Molecule skid plate.
Molecule.
Seat Concepts Full Emission Delete. MX Tech Lucky Kit, MX Tech Tank and Triple Adjuster on shock. TT Voyager Pro paired with Moto-Minded Stunt Mount. FMF Titanium 4.1 Michelin Moose with GT 333.
That's the golden tires.
216MX. Currently IMS 4.5. Also have the Cherubies 3.2 for lighter days. The Cherubies frame guard. FAF custom Moto-Minded graphics. Bulletproof design, everything. Soon to add the Moto-Minded RMK V3 Rally Tower for roadbook navigation.
So Cody has a bike that we don't know exactly what it is. I'm looking at the header. I'm guessing 450 or 500. 450 or 501. Have no idea the year, but it looks like the older style front fender to me. So I'm gonna guess 2014. I don't know. He's gonna take off some really good parts to put on the rally kit. I would just bolt a big ass ram ball on the front of it and get the ram arm and do it that way. and then get a bigger tank. If you're going to do rally stuff, get a bigger tank because you can't go far enough with that tank in my rally world. But your rally world may be different. He's got the mooses already, so that's good. It's a pretty nice chariot. I think it's okay.
It does have a climb sticker on it.
It does have a climb sticker on it. These guys are all trying to butter me up, like by using the sponsors.
This is the influence we have over people now.
It's not that strong. It's really well. If
they're willing to devote,
if he shows up and he comes out and he's wearing like some let's say some answer gear or something like that, or maybe he's wearing some Fast House.
Oh, then it's
then it's
there
up,
with the
it's,
three-wheeler
it's,
with the
it's,
ACT.
It's really upside down.
Yeah.
But if he is wearing the climb gear, and I would hope he would, he's got, some of the stickers are matching because I see the Baja Designs sticker on the side thing.
I see a bulletproof design
that
sticker
matches
too.
there. He's got the bulletproof design, everything, but he doesn't have a front disc guard. Oh, hey, you know why RJ's bike is getting better? It just moved.
Video submission.
Because he did a video submission and he did it right. But no, he was running the Adventure foot pegs on his BDR bike, and I can't tell you how much if you notice my 500s, they have the big Adventure foot pegs. Well, the ones, the wider peg, it makes a huge difference on comfort and just being able to control the bike. You don't want to go trail riding with that because they do stick out and you'll hit rocks and stuff like that. But for rally kind of stuff and for long distance stuff, huge improvement. That's probably the smartest thing he did besides build your own beta and have his name. Someplace out there's a Beta 500 RS with my name on it. That they built it for Dirt Rider magazine. They did a build your own beta. And they built it. It was kind of funny because it was right when I got canned. I got canned, and then they sent it to them, and it had.
So
they built my own beta. It came with flex bars and a recluse clutch and all the Jimmy shit, right? Yeah, and yeah,
so
good old times.
I have a question actually regarding the
Husky?
BYOB.
Oh, build your own beta.
Why don't other manufacturers do that?
It's a pain in the ass. It is a. I mean, you because they're actually I don't know whether I know originally they were done in pass rollables at beta. They when they pulled them out of the crate, put all the stuff on them, put them back in the crate and shipped it to the dealer. It was done in house. And I don't know if that's still the case. I don't know if dealers do it now or exactly how it works. I probably have to inquire. But it was that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And if it actually starts taking off that program, it turns into a lot of work, and I don't really think it's a big money maker on their side because they probably get a little bit of markup from the things, but having inventory all those extra parts and have all that stuff, and a lot of times part of that program is to actually pull the suspension off and get the suspension valve, and they have somebody in house that does that, so there's a lot to it. I mean, you could set it up that way, but I think bigger manufacturers manufacturers, I call manufacturers, they're importers. And they just basically, their job is to get the bikes in here and get them out to the dealers. And then it would be the dealer's job to do that. A dealer should be able to do that kind of a service. If you have a good dealer should be able to do this. But those are few and far between.
Very few.
And then having, I saw someone recommend, some guy was asking about getting something technical done. And they recommended a dealer in Vegas that I've been to before, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? Do you work there?" They couldn't sell me a clutch lever because I couldn't tell them, not because I couldn't, because I didn't want to confuse them. I wouldn't tell them your make and model. I'm just get me it for this, and they're like, "Well, what bike is it for?" I'm like, "It's for that one." Is it really going on that one? I'm like, "Well, no, but you don't need to know this." And it was it turned into more of a discussion about. And then they didn't have it. That was the best part. They didn't have, but they had the Power Parts one. Oh, they had the one that was $96, and unfortunately, I was going on a trip, and I know of who you speak. Yeah, we know. So
anodized levers. Though.
It was anodized.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
yeah.
I don't even know what happened to the damn thing. I probably sold it. Probably sold it because somebody wanted the anodized one. I just went and got Rocky Mountain Tusk replacement one, and that's what I carry, and it's probably still in my fanny pack because I haven't needed it. But hey, if you want to support Dirt Bike Test, click through our link on the website. After you watch the video of me endlessly roosting Trevor Hunter on a YZ125, after you watch that video, then on the banners and there, click through the Rocky Mountain link, and that's where you can buy your spare lever, your spare Tusk lever that'll do. Actually, I have those on a lot of our rental bikes because those get broken every once in a while.
I have those on my
This
bike.
bike is going to go right. Since you didn't tell us what it was, I have no idea what it is, so it's going to endo. Whose bike was it? Did he tell us his name?
Yes. Nope. Maybe.
That was, I believe,
No.
Cody Haynes.
No, he had the 300.
Logan's confused. Logan, your performance on tonight's show is like really, it's getting difficult for me. You're not doing drugs, are you?
It is Cody Hine.
Cody Hines?
Yeah.
Okay. So Cody, sorry. Next question. Next.
Ashley, 2022 350 EXCF.
Okay, we
mostly
know
stock,
we know what it
I love
is. Mostly
Follow the
stock, that's
rules.
good. Mostly stock, that's good.
And he loves it.
And he loves it. Is that him in the background?
I think it's a she.
It's a she.
Yeah.
It's Ash.
Ash.
You said Ashley. Oh, Ashley. Well, how's she looking? Can we zoom in?
You have
It's
a wife.
little blurry back there.
I would do that if it was a guy too. By the way, just let you know. I
You have.
don't judge. I know.
How's the grinder account going?
We're not streaming live there yet, Matt. Why not?
You need to verify your account before
Verify,
we're allowed
yeah.
to do that.
Hey, do you know there's 2 Dirt Bike Test YouTube pages?
I'm the one who discovered this.
Yeah, we learned this today. Yeah,
You can go subscribe to dirtbiketest.com.
Yeah, we have 13 subscribers over
13
there.
subscribers.
Right.
But we have over 60 people watching right now.
That's the one that I manage.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm in charge of.
Yeah.
See how good I've been doing.
I'll link it because we can get those numbers up on that channel.
Don't make it any more confusing than it already is. So, I like the fact that this bike is mostly stock, and it looks used, and they're probably having a great time riding it. That's what motorcycles are all about. It's on the roost side of the scale, and Logan's busy playing with tape. We know what I was thinking about doing, just like taping his mouth, and you would hardly know any difference on this show.
Logan deserves better than that. He deserves better than that.
You got to really start working on your show notes and prep and things like that, and this board, and he's got to get me an invoice. And he's not getting paid till I get an invoice. Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
I've given you my invoice.
yeah, and you'll get paid. I like to cut checks at the same time. You know, it's like,
Oh man, Logan, we got to get your invoice made, buddy.
yeah. There's a lot of stuff that needs to get done. Matt had to wash the bikes. Oh no, he didn't. He was
No.
worried about having to wash the bikes.
It was like the 11th hour, and I thought I had to wash the bikes.
Yeah.
But driving, not riding, driving to my rescue
Right.
was Logan.
Driving to the rescue. So do we have any other? Oh, we have questions on this thing right
Yeah,
here. Let's
there is a good chat question I kind of want to get to though.
Okay, bring it up.
So Logan, if you want to pull up your phone, I added it, and it should be the last one.
Again, I would like to thank all of our sponsors. If here's the thing, like it's funny because my wife actually said, "Hey, you guys talk a lot about Yamahas now, and is that because Yamaha sponsors you?" And she goes, you know, she said because it kind of she doesn't pay that much attention because she likes the orange ones, and I'm like yeah, they sponsor us. They just happen to be the ones that are bringing us to the press intros and doing stuff. So yeah, we're talking about them. And when I jokingly, after I tell you that, if I don't know anything about you, you should buy a KTM 500, and they go, you could always buy a Yamaha YZ450FX. That's the Yamaha. That's the kind of the stick behind it. But you know what else? Did anybody see the new info that dropped about the T7 prototype? That's kind of out there. So they're building a racing replica with GYTR parts of a T7. So if you that's probably the actually if you want to watch a video this week on the internet, go watch the Pol Torres video on the T7. It's very artsy and it's very, I'll call it Spanish in the production, but the riding that guy does is phenomenal. It's actually ridiculous. And people are like, "Hey Jimmy, why don't you do that on an adventure bike?" It's because I'm not a 6'4" man mountain of muscle with world trials experience. So that's why I don't do it, just in case. So watch the Pol Torres video. George, you should probably link it already on the chat room.
Assistant producer.
Yeah, assistant producer. Oh wow, Matt.
Yeah.
good one.
Well, no, he is. He always does a great job of getting the links in the chat.
Yeah, Yamaha Scott Sports. I wore Scott goggles. That's why I could see so clearly while I was roosting Trevor the whole time at the YZ intro. Climb. I was wearing Climb gear.
And you got made fun of for it too.
Oh, absolutely. They're like, "Why are you wearing that gear?" Because it looks good and it's functional. And
it had a pocket.
And I've got you in my pocket episode over on our Instagram channels. And so when Don Maeda walked by me and did his little snicker, I said, "Dude, I'm putting my fanny pack on for the next moto and I'm going to go at you." And I didn't have to, because when I rode by him, he was laying on the ground, kind of face down in the mud. And after that, I said, "You look good like that." But I don't know what kind of gear he was wearing, but it wasn't Climb. DDC Sprockets, they hooked me up. I'm geared up for the future here. Trail Tech, makers of the awesome Voyager Pro GPS unit with buddy tracking. If you don't know what buddy tracking is, then you're probably running one of those other GPS units. Taco Moto. If you need to get an ECU for your emissions compliant bike, go read Taco Moto's white sheet, and it'll explain whether you need one or don't need one. Seat Concepts. I wish I was sitting on a Seat Concepts seat right now riding a motorcycle. And Bulletproof Designs. Hopefully Trevor's got them on the hook for next month.
Hopefully.
Yep, they make billet front disc guards so you can just smash the rocks. Logan, what's the question?
There's two. Connor Steele. Jimmy, are you homies with Chris Kiefer?
Yeah. I've known Chris for a long time. He was a test rider for us at Dirt Rider. He was there before I was there. He was always test riding. But the interesting thing with is we ride different. He's definitely a lot faster than me now. And if we hop on a bike and we set it up, we always seem to come to sort of the same setup, the same kind of final setup. I don't know if that's true. I haven't really done that because he does his own thing now. Yeah. So I think we're homies. Is that? Do you think we're homies?
I would assume so.
Yeah, I would say so, because I remember at the Alpine Star intro, he came and he was patting your belly.
That's because I always tell him it looks like he's putting on a little bit of weight.
Yeah.
And I said, look where you're going to end up. Yeah, it happens.
Right.
So
that was the question I was thinking of.
Yeah.
But.
So yeah, I think we're good. I don't know. I have to check. I'll ask him next time I see him.
Hermic 98. Bought a 01 RM250. Still has the original front tire and a lot of tread on it. Aside from that, what else should I replace or look at?
Well, if it has a lot of front tread on it, it's all good. An 01 RM250. I'm thinking 2001. That could be a two-stroke, right? RM250, not an RMZ. RM250. Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah.
Well, if the front tire's good, I would suspect that the... well, I don't know. I have to paraphrase this. Like you didn't buy this thing in Philadelphia, did you? Because it could have been used by one of those wheelie boys, and they're at 12 o'clock the whole time. So front tire might be great at that point. But if you bought it like in Phelan, California, and the front tire is still good, I suspect everything behind it is probably in pretty good shape. So if that were my bike and I really liked it, I would, when I changed the fluids and that means all the fluids. I would just look at them and inspect them, and if they're good, put new fluids in. This means coolant and engine oil fluid if it's a two-stroke. Just take a look at that, replace that stuff. And then the suspension fluid as well, because that stuff will have aged, and it won't hurt to have have a suspension service done on it, and then ride it. I think you're good. I think you probably have a lot of life left in that thing. Oh, probably clean the carb. Who knows? I mean, if it doesn't run properly, there's probably some stuff in the carb.
David
Mucasironi?
99 DR 350.
Come on, you say it, Logan. David M-U-C-C, Mucasirone.
DR 350 SE.
Say it.
Maruka Roan.
How would you say, if you put two C's together, it's kind of like CCs. You were asking me that question earlier tonight about like CCs. So it's Mu Cicierone. How is that?
Probably not the correct pronunciation, but pretty close. It is very hard starting after getting down.
Let's start over again. Tech question.
99 DR 350 SE is very hard starting after getting down on its side.
Is that like crashing, getting down on its side?
Probably.
Okay.
Holding throttle wide open does not help it start. Only at least 20 minutes of sitting seems to help. Is this a result of the stock CV Mikuni vacuum operated carb, or maybe another adjustment needed? I rebuilt the vacuum operator fuel petcock, and the float height seems to be set per service manual. Starts cold fine and runs okay otherwise. Thanks.
Okay, David. So your bike has, like I said, a vacuum operated carburetor. So it has a butterfly valve on the front side and a vacuum operated slide. So when you hold that butterfly valve wide open, that slide is still down. And so when your bike goes down on its side, fuel starts spilling, leaking, doing all different kinds of things. So I'm going to guess a couple of things here. If you were to hold it wide open, sometimes just the suction can get that slide to pop up, but it's not like a typical carburetor that you would open it up and then it would let a ton of air in there and essentially kind of like clean it out is what we say. So when, whether it's a two-stroke or a four-stroke and fuel spills into it, all of a sudden you have a very rich mixture and you need to open the slide up to get some extra air in there so it helps it start, or it sucks air through there and kind of cleans out the intake track. Maybe dries out the intake track would be a proper term for this. And then it will allow the bike to start, because the bike will not start in a super, super overly rich mixture. So maybe since that vacuum operated slide is not opening, that's why this isn't working so well. But I'd also be interested to know how your vent tubes are doing, where your vent tubes are going, because if some of those are plugged up, maybe that means there's more fuel getting spilled into the intake track, or is it going into some sort of a catch container? I don't remember back in '99 what exactly they were doing with the emissions stuff, but a lot of times those bikes were not allowed to kind of spill out so easily, and then that fuel kind of basically contaminates the air that you're trying to start the bike with, so it's extra rich. And the fact that it sits for 20 minutes and then starts would kind of, and what happens at that point is the excess fuel kind of evaporates off. Just like if you spilled it on the ground and it kind of goes away quickly, that's what's happening if that 20 minute of sitting allows it to do this. And I kind of think that Mikuni, even the CV Mikuni, something tells me it might have a pumper on it. I don't recall. But if it has a pumper, you have to remember that every time you open it and hold it open, it's going to squirt a little bit of fuel in there. So you're actually increasing the richness. So you have to be very careful on some pumper carburetors. If you're going to quote clean it out, you open it up once and hold it wide open, and you don't let go of that throttle tube until it fires or sputters, or kind of pops, because every time you turn it, you're putting more fuel in there, which is the original problem. Or you could just stop letting it go down on its side.
At
My school, yeah, which Matt strategically placed the. He fixed it. The logo used to be covering up on my logo. I spent a lot of time trying to get this coordinated and stuff, but it's really nice.
Pat, what is the best way, regardless of price, to set up WP air forks for a 240-pound rider? I should also specify for enduro off-road, not track.
Add air. Yeah, that's a good thing about air forks. You add air and they get set up. But I will tell you that when you're going with more air, you're putting a heavier spring in there. And so at the same time, you're going to probably want to compensate with some additional rebound dampening. I've never had to, since do you know that I'm perfect?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad we got that out of the way. I didn't have to explain it anymore. I'm talking about size and weight and everything. So I don't have to add that much air. Well, I'm kind of fat for a 125, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So I'm not perfect for a 125, but
show.
for most of the bikes with the WP air forks, well, actually the 125s and 150s have them. I don't know how much. I've never really had to really super pump them up and then notice what the effect on the rebound is. But I would suspect that it's going to do the same thing a heavier spring would do and kind of compromise the rebound. It's going to be pushing harder on the reverse direction. So you might have to add some additional rebound damping with your clickers to compensate for it. This being said, if you get up near the end of the range, let's say you're at 12 out and all of a sudden you find yourself at 2 or 3 or 4 out to get a good feel, or you can't get a good feel on the rebound side, I would then start. That's when you go to a suspension guy and you say, "Hey, I'm running this much air pressure and this is what I'm feeling." But the first thing is just set it up with the right air pressure. And I'm pretty sure there's a chart in the manual that kind of gives you some guidelines for doing this. And then a lot of times their settings, based on, whether you want comfort or aggressive and stuff, they have some clicker recommendations that you can go by. But I would start with this, and then I hope that you're matching with, a proper spring in the rear, because if your bike is, if you're not getting the right spring, your bike becomes unbalanced. And if it's, squatted low in the rear, even though you can very easily get the forks up to the right spring pressure is what we'll call it. If it's riding low in the rear, the forks will never work properly because the bike isn't balanced. So, but you start going regardless of price. I wonder what he's wanting me to say. Oh, buy a kit suspension. No, I wouldn't do that. Even if I had that money burning a hole in my wallet and I was 240 pounds, the first thing I would try would be making sure I had the right pressure in the forks just to see how it works, because that's where you start. And if you do the easiest things first, do things one at a time. But for a guy of that size, whatever you're going to do to the front, you're going to need to do something equally to the rear. And if it were me, I would start with the right spring in the back, pretty much knowing I'm going to have to get that shock revalved, mostly for the, on the rebound side, because you're putting heavier springs on it, because a lot of times the damping will still do its job even at your weight if it's sprung correctly. So, Pat, hopefully that works for you. And it doesn't matter whether it's off-road or track. I mean, go test it, try it after you do it. And, a few pounds here and there on the front fork can make a huge difference in how that bike works. So, okay.
Ryder S. Oregon. TPI is not to be feared. I now like it better than a carburetor. I think it needs to be adjustable. The JD tuner did it for me. Too bad you can't tune it with the cell phone app like Yamaha 4-strokes. If you change something like a head or exhaust for power valve changing, fuel is a big help.
I agree with everything you just said. It would be so awesome to be able to tune that. And one of the advantages if you have a Get ECU for that bike is you can tune it with your phone. So that would be the next step up. Unfortunately, I've not ridden a Get ECU that I liked the base setting map standard yet, and I've not yet had the opportunity to play with the phone tuning with a properly, or I've never had every Get ECU that I've had never had the Wi-Fi module on it, so I couldn't tune it, or it was an earlier version that was not tunable via that Wi-Fi app. It was an earlier programming or earlier box that didn't have that ability. Because I'm pretty sure, almost everyone that I've ridden, I'm pretty sure that if I had the same parameters that I can tune with like I do on a Yamaha, and believe me, the Get and the Yamaha tuning systems are very, very similar. Yeah, that would be huge. So, but with the JD, you can monkey around with the fuel and get the bike to do most everything. Although having the addition of ignition adjustability would be even that much better. So, what's wrong with you? It can't be better than a carburetor. I mean, they've been doing carburetors for hundreds of years, and there's no way that fuel injection can be better than a carburetor. Ask the internet. Right? I worked on it. I cleaned out a carburetor today. That's why I had to go ride around in circles for 45 minutes to get some carbon monoxide poisoning. Have you ever ridden around in a figure eight long enough to actually start realizing that you're gassing yourself out? You have?
Yeah, here.
Oh. You've ridden around my figure eight that long?
Yeah.
Or a flat track?
Figure eight.
Figure eight. Oh, good for you.
Tight circle.
Yeah. No, I started. It was almost like Megalodome. This is where we used to race mini bikes inside of a warehouse, and I wonder why. I was driving home, actually I was driving up north. I was driving over I-5, and I'm going, wow, look at these cool rainbows around my eyes. This is awesome. A little CO, do you? But yeah, I rebuilt the carburetor on one of my older KTM 200s because it was just it felt like the pilot jet was plugged. And sure enough, I opened it up and there was some crap in the bowl. And so I think a piece went up and plugged the pilot jet. So I pulled the pilot jet out, threw it in the ultrasonic cleaner, actually had to poke at it with a little super fine wire to pop it out, popped it back in there. Same exact symptoms. And I'm like, what? It was this is so pilot jet. So I pulled the whole carburetor off, and sure enough, it was plugged up above the pilot jet. Something corroded inside there, and it took 100 psi to pop it out, to blow air inside there. So I hate carburetors. No, it was on my KTM 200, my older one, the 04? 04?
6.
06? Oh yeah, you should know. You did the inventory in those things, right?
Yes.
Right. It's an 06. 2006
check.
KTM 200 XC. Could be for sale. Send me an email. Next question. Last question.
Adam Freeman. Jimmy, I just put in an order for a 2020 Beta 200. Then I stumbled upon your video. Makes me feel good about my decision. Nice video.
Well, I can't say that I influenced you, but at least I made you feel better. So, at some point or other, we're trying to do our good deeds around here.
It is a 2006.
It is a 2006. Trevor sent me a picture. He's riding a Beta, and he goes, I think I really like this bike. And I just texted him back. I said, you're ruined now. Because everybody's gonna say that since you're hanging around with me, you just all of a sudden like weird bikes, and because there's no way that a Beta could be a good bike. I mean, come on, it's not a Honda or a KTM, right? Or Yamaha. Like, so it can't be good if it's one of those weird ones. So Trevor, you're wrecked. I don't know where you got that idea. Probably I influenced you, I suspect.
Influencer. Yeah. Maybe we'll get more bikes now that you're influencer status.
Conrad Serrano wants to know if you can take my class with a Kawasaki Versys 650 with street tires. If you go read the frequently asked questions on jimmylewisoffroad.com, the answer would be no, because we don't let anybody take our class with street tires, because riding on the dirt with street tires is about as stupid as trying to go road racing with knobbies. Just good things are not going to happen. And those are the only things that are connecting you to the ground. And since one of the main things we focus on teaching you is traction, you're just throwing a lot of that stuff out the window. So hopefully we'll see. We have rental bikes, by the way. And Robert Stockton, Conrad, I have taken this class. I would say no to the 650 on street tires. I would highly recommend when renting his 500s with proper tires. You'll get way more out of the class, in his honest opinion. Thank you, Robert. It's funny. I almost just said that, didn't I?
Yeah.
I wasn't going to offer him a 500, though. I was going to offer him a CRF150.
Hey, you learned so much on the 230.
I don't disagree with you at all.
Yeah.
I'll do anything that I do on the class, on the CRF230, and it's easier to do, and I can focus more on what I'm doing than worrying about the KTM 500, like trying to rip my arms off my sockets or something, even though we don't let you do that too much.
Well, I even did some of the hill drills with someone on the back on the 230.
Oh, you rode the dude up the hill?
Yeah. He was struggling with the accelerating and go to the top of the hill.
Okay,
Yeah. So I was like, I threw him on the back and said, watch my throttle, and was showing him, once you go up the hill, you're not accelerating anymore. You're just maintaining like your momentum and your energy.
Right.
Because he kept trying to twist it further
as you went up the hill.
As you going up the hill, yeah.
And he realized that like when traction disappears, so does speed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny, but you just turn the throttle, get over the back, and gas it.
Yeah. It works great in the stand when you get over the back and gas it.
I know.
Especially from a standstill.
We've been trying to teach that technique for a long time.
I know.
Bob Sanfelipe of Bob says, I switched to a Beta, and Jimmy did it. Bob, you used to be Blue Crew. You could be riding a brand new YZ125. You should be. Actually, you should buy one right now for your kid, because he's going to be bigger than you pretty soon, and he should start on a YZ125.
Or you should buy one for me, just because.
Yeah, well, you could break it in, and then I can make sure it's maintained properly.
Yes. I'm better.
My wife rides a CRF230. See, Bob, he's on the program.
Yeah.
He's got all the things.
230 life.
Okay, everybody. Do we have any other questions out there?
I think that's a wrap.
Yeah, we're getting done with this show. I want to thanks again to all of our sponsors: Bulletproof Design, Seat Concepts, Taco Moto Co. Go to their website. You will probably have $3,000 worth of stuff in your cart before you exit, but that's good. You can put it on a payment plan. Go to Trail Tech. Check out the new Voyager Pro, DDC Sprockets, Climb Gear. I wore Climb Gear today. I didn't use any of it, and that's a good thing. Yeah, kept myself off the ground. Scott Sports, makers of fine goggles, and then Yamaha, who has brand new YZs, and two-stroke and four-stroke. Check out dirtbiketest.com. Click through the links to Rocky Mountain to support us. Click through our Amazon links. Send us emails, videos, and next week, Logan's going to bring in the strippers. Yep. So it's going to be.
We got to thank George too.
Taco Tuesday with strippers. George for what? Drinking all of my good tequila and then replacing it with Kirkland?
Well, he is actually a sponsor, so.
Oh, is his thing been flashing up there?
His thing's been flashing up there, and he did actually pay for it.
Okay.
Still waiting on a logo from Ricky though.
Well, George is going to be selling T-shirts here pretty soon. So
his highly desirable brand.
Yeah, in his brand.
He's taking on Louis Vuitton and
he's
Gucci, all the big
running
ones.
off of our shoulders. So thanks everybody for joining in. Again, we'll see you out on the trail.
Yep.
Okay. Cheers.